Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Breaking news this morning, the Titans are releasing safety Jamal Adams, who requested the release. According to Adam Schefter, the 29-year-old signed a one-year deal with the Titans in the offseason. He has played just 20 defensive snaps this season. The Titans placed Adams on the reserve non-football injury list last week. He is now a free agent as the 1-4 Titans prepare to play the 4-2 Buffalo Bills on the road Sunday. Tonight, the Broncos are at the Saints to kick off Week 7 of the NFL season. On Thursday Night Football, Sean Payton returns to New Orleans. Kickoff is at 7:15. Westwood One coverage on The Zone starts at 7. The Nashville Predators are still in search of the first win of the season at 0-3. Tonight, they host the 1-3 Edmonton Oilers at Bridgestone Arena. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Zach here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. You want to talk Tennessee Titans because we got a lot to talk about.
No.
I know that Blaine is in his orange over here, but we're not talking volunteers today unless we run out of things to talk about because we are talking Tennessee Titans. Nick Holtz goes on a bender pretty much in his presser. He is talking about the players, what they're doing wrong. He is being as blunt as possible and leaving nothing open to interpretation about what he thinks about this team and about this offense. We're going to have Mike Herndon at PK.com and Football and Other F Words, who I believe that Mike purposely ghosted his appearance on the podcast last night because he just is fed up with this team. He doesn't want to talk about this team. So I'm going to be asking him about that right off the top.
Oh, I don't think that's true. No way. No way.
But the F&M Bank Chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, and the second hour we'll also have some Preds tickets to give away. And I'll be at the game. Maybe you'll see me. Maybe you won't.
Oh, you going to the Preds?
I'm going to the Preds game. It's at 1 p.m., so I can make it to the Preds game and watch Alabama beat University of Tennessee
we gonna see you
on the same time.
Smash a can over your head?
No, I got a thick head that could probably do it, but
that's why
I've never tried. Yeah, I know it's a big head. Hats do not fit me very well.
My head is nicely fitted for this championship. I wanted to feel good today and like a winner, so I put on the Tennessee, national championship in baseball cap that I paid for. So man, I wanted to feel good.
Looks good.
We winning. And then you hear Nick Holtz, and he say, we're not winning.
Oh, well, the Tennessee Titans are definitely not winning for sure right now. But I don't really know where to start because my initial thing was to play off something that Kayla said this morning, and she was talking about how they've given Will Levis a lot of leeway, and that had me thinking, like, okay, well, Will Levis has had a lot of leeway compared to the last couple of quarterback classes, and we saw that Trey Lance is gone, and Kenny Pickett's gone, and all these players have left the building pretty much on these teams, and I was going to ask you all about that, but really, I mean, I think we need to start off with what Nick Holtz was talking about, and I think at the end of the day, that was the most, I think, blunt and transparent explanations on various offensive topics that you could have asked for since maybe Brian Callahan in the preseason. Like, I feel like this may have been the stuff that Brian Callahan has been wanting to say that has had him, like, taking a breath, pausing, and thinking about his answer. And Nick Holtz has probably got the go-ahead or green light from maybe his head coach to say, you be the blunt person. You be the guy this week that, that calls some players out or tells them what's going on. I also, because someone had asked in here, Curtis C. on the YouTube chat said, can y'all tell us what Holtz does here since he doesn't call plays? Well, he does a lot. So he's up in the booth. He's diagnosing the coverages, giving his input, to Brian Callahan. And when Brian Callahan can't be in certain offensive meetings or rooms, he's carrying that message, carrying that game plan forward. It's a lot of what Brian Callahan did in Cincinnati. Now, we don't know. Maybe he's responsible for designing the opening game scripts. Maybe he's red zone. Maybe he is, certain play call situations, because that's what it was for, like, Arthur Smith, Todd Downing, and Tim Kelly when they were like even tight end coaches. But this is an offensive coordinator that doesn't call plays, so maybe he takes on that responsibility as well. So, I mean, Holtz I just was very surprised by what he said. And I think what we'll start off with the first thing that he said was what they did on Monday as an entire offense. Something that you had brought up off air yesterday that I wish we would have said on air, because you would have looked like a genius today. But this is what Nick Holtz had to say about Monday's meeting after the Colts loss and what the entire offense did.
Good for everyone to hear from one voice, O-line included, of, okay, does everyone see this coverage? Do we all see it the same way? And I think that for everybody was the best, that we all sat there, we looked at it. Okay, is this a coverage? Is this bad scheme, or did we just lose on the right tackle or the left tackle or something like that? And this is why the ball didn't come to you, just so that everyone can kind of get the holistic view. So I wouldn't say there's any aha moments. I would say it was more just, okay, we all see that. Yep, we were good. So whose idea was this? It was just kind of, I think, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, normally after on Mondays we meet for 20 minutes-ish as a unit, kind of review the highlights of the game, the lowlights, kind of those kind of things. And Brian and Bill and I were just kind of sitting around and said, okay, let's put everybody together. Let's watch a little more, spend a little more time together, as we did. So it was kind of a staff. We all just said, make sure we're all on the same page.
So they looked at every pass play on Monday and sat in a room at the entire offense, every position group's coach, assistant coaches, sat in the room, and he didn't ever really said who was the one voice, but maybe it's likely Brian Callahan would probably be it. And they went through every pass play to talk about coverage responsibilities, to talk about route running, to talk about decision making and timing and all this kind of stuff. So everybody's on the same page. And that holistic approach, he said, was a really good reset.
Yeah, that's what I kind of mentioned to you off air. I don't know if it's yesterday or the day before, getting my days confused, but there's something that we did. I'm not going to act like I was the genius, but it really worked. And I thought maybe if I didn't even think about the offensive line. I just said put the receivers and the quarterback in the same room and have dialogue so you can make sure you guys are all getting the same message and are on the same page. And that worked really well. And I took that from Coach Fisher. He did that one year. I can't remember what year it was. I think probably some year that we started off slow or were struggling. And we did it on defense as well with the linebackers and the secondary. So we could make sure everybody understood their responsibilities and there was no mixed messaging. Because sometimes it feels like that when it's one or two players just not doing their job. And the job is, just to be in your right spot or right gap or be in the right coverage. And that doesn't mean you're not going to get beat, but just make sure everybody understands the whole totality of the offense and the defense and how it can actually work and be effective and who's messing up. That way there's no issues from, guys talking on the side, outside of meetings or sitting there at lunch like, hey, man, what were you supposed to do here? And, just ask, because guys mix and mingle, offense, defense, as I mentioned before, and you ask questions. So you want to make sure that everybody sees in the, right voice tone and everything else, more of a educational. I think he used the word holistic, which I love that. And so I just think it can be very helpful in next time you go perform. And I think we performed well after that. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to win games, but you're going to look better and working as one. Because ultimately, you are working as one, but the trigger man is the quarterback. So they get to see when he made mistakes or bad reads as well. But you're not, yelling or berating or anybody else. You're going through each individual player to tell them what we're expecting out of this play and what happened actually on this play. So I really, really love that from coaches because that, if I was coaching, that's kind of the way I would be if we were struggling with, especially, the talent that they have, especially at the skill positions on offense, and just to to get them all there. Offensive line is growing as a young unit, but they're getting better slowly but surely, but they're coming along. And they're just trying to speed up the process of playing. And I'm real big on this. And, it's very underrated, even at the pro level, is chemistry. And it's undervalued. And I say that is because I relied on other people to do their job. Like if I'm coming downhill to fill a gap, and when they run a certain play, I'm coming in this gap. Well, if you jump in my hole, then I'm going to let you know I'm going to run up your back. Stay in your gap. And if you want to take a risk, which I don't want to make guys just to be, I'm going to just stay in my gap, I can't make any plays. You can get out of your gap, but then jump out of there and then get back there. If you want to try to, take a risk and make your guy miss you on a block, okay, go. But be fast, be quick, because I'm coming down here. That way I can adjust off of you being a safety. Same thing happens on offense. So you say be here. Well, if the vision wasn't there, keep running through the route and say, hey, I might put it lower right here so I can get it to you. Those little conversations, little nuances about the game are just, underrated. And those little things add up, and that can get you a win. And that's all you need is some positivity as an athlete, and that we finally, got a good win. We play great, and you got to see what winning looks like and finishing a game. And then once you do it, instead of just believing you can do it, then it gets done over and over and over again. And then the confidence level just rises. Pro athletes are no different than a high school athlete. The confidence just grows, just at a higher level. And where they start is a higher level. But yes, so you need all that kind of reinforcement. So, I applaud them on that, man. That is outstanding.
Well, we'll talk more about what Nick Holtz had to say after we talk to Mike Herndon of PK.com coming up next. We'll talk to him about the Tennessee Titans, what he saw from the Colts game, and what he expects from the Bills game. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for 24 years. We've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, we are now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. So pretty cool getting to watch a small town mechanic starting in the barn of his backyard of a single wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But I always tell them Blaine said you.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Blaine and Zach here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. And we're going to go straight to the phones to talk to Mike Herndon of PK.com. And I think he's still with football and other F words. He likes to show up, but he ghosted us last night, Blaine. And I am fairly convinced it's just because he has given up on this team and hates talking about the team. So, Mike, where were you last night?
Well, what you did say about hating the team and being tired of talking about them, that is somewhat true. It pains me to talk about bad football, and we've seen too much of that, unfortunately. But last night I was actually I had totally forgotten what day it was, and I was in Houston at a dinner with an engineer that we're trying to hire. And, so that's where I was last night. I totally forgot until you sent the leaked text. And I failed you guys, so I apologize.
You left me and Stoney to try to figure out how to fix Will Levis, so I'm going to ask you, can you fix Will Levis? And if you can, how do you fix Will Levis?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I don't know, because I think it's all kind of mixed up in confidence and mental. I think physically he can do the job. I just think, can you – and this is the question I've had about Will Levis from the very jump, when I did not like him as a college prospect, and this was the reason why. I did not ever feel like, watching him play, that he had a good feel for the game. And I don't know how much that's teachable. I don't know how much he can learn that on the job, just by getting reps. But I don't know if that's something that you just have it or you don't. But so far, it seems like a have it or you don't kind of situation, and he just doesn't have it. So if that's the case, then I'm afraid he's unfixable. But obviously, I hope that's not the correct read on that situation. But I think it just comes down to something as simple as that. It's one of those things. So that's kind of where I'm at currently, and I think they got to keep giving him a chance and trying to work it out. But yeah, it may not go anywhere.
Is having hope surrounding Will Levis a healthy point of view, in your opinion? Like, this seems like it could be, hurt your mental health more than it could help your mental health if you're a fan.
I guess it depends on your mindset. I think if your current position is, no, I'm choosing to believe that Will Levis is the guy, and I will not be swayed otherwise, I think that's an unhealthy place to be, because you're setting yourself up for a likely letdown. I think if you're, and this is kind of where I am, I'm like, I think it's headed towards a bad place, and likely, he's not the guy, but I'm willing to keep the door just slightly ajar that, hey, maybe this is just, he needs to get through a certain number of reps to really be able to feel the game and get to that point that I've talked about, where he's not thinking every rep and thinking every read. He's just feeling it. Maybe there's an outside chance that happens, but I don't know. I think a door ajar is okay. I think having full hope, I would probably recommend against that at this point.
We're talking to Mike Herndon at PK.com, and sometimes when he bothers to show up, football and other F words, which you can listen here on 104.5 The Zone every Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, we appreciate you showing up, man. Your presence is very valuable. First and foremost, give us your overall view of the Colts game, just in general, on both sides of the ball, even in special teams.
Yeah, I thought the defense mostly played pretty well. They gave up, obviously, the first drive of the game, and then the what turned out to be the game-winning drive. They gave up bad drives at bad times, and that's kind of been something that we saw pop up in the Jets game. And obviously the Packers game was not a very good performance overall from that group, but I still think they're not an elite defense. They're a very good defense, but I don't think you can be elite if you can't get pressure consistently, and they just cannot get pressure consistently from the edge group without blitzing and doing all the other things. So against a veteran quarterback like Flacco, I think you're always going to struggle in that spot, because there's only so much you can trick a guy like that who's kind of seen everything over the years. So, younger quarterbacks, maybe you can trick them a little bit more, but the guy that they're going to see this week, Josh Allen, you're not going to trick him a ton either. So I think, their recipe for success kind of revolves around winning in coverage on the back end, and then, getting a blitz home up front, because they just can't win off the edge from a pressure standpoint. So that overall is okay. The offensive game plan drove me crazy, and I don't know if it was, hey, Levis's shoulder, isn't right. And they've talked a little bit about, the Colts want to play over the top, kind of put a cap over the whole offense and make you play those slow, grinding drives down the field. But, they can say that, and I get it, but other teams have found ways to get explosive plays against the Colts. This has not been a great defense this year, and they made them look much better than they really are, especially without some of their best players in Juju Brents and DeForest Buckner and guys like that. So it was disappointed that it was just such a conservative approach overall. And look, if Will Levis wasn't capable of throwing, more than 10 yards downfield, or they didn't want to put him in that spot, then you need to play Mason Rudolph. And I'm not a bench Levis for Rudolph guy, but if he can't execute the offense, there's no sense in putting him out there and teaching him bad habits if he's playing limited. So I don't know. That was kind of my takeaway on those two sides of the ball. And then special teams, it was kind of, vanilla. This may have been one of their better games special teams-wise because there weren't huge issues. They did give up some longer than I'd like to see returns to Josh Downs, and I think that continues to be a little bit of a struggle. And, of course, they had a penalty as well. They can't seem to get through a game without a special teams penalty. But it wasn't a disaster, at least.
No doubt about it. With Mike Herndon, I know we've talked a lot about, the game plan. But do you think that they should just take the training wheels off Will Levis and let him just play and make mistakes at this point? So what I'm asking is, how quick of a trigger? You seem like you're very patient in letting Will Levis develop, but wouldn't you want to let him see him fly and flourish? And if he makes mistakes, then you got to will him back and then take him out, and maybe he can learn more from the sidelines. What are your thought process on that whole thing about the quarterback?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Because I think Levis, if you're going to put the bumpers, the bowling bumpers up so he can't roll gutter balls, I think he's never going to learn how to bowl, right? Like, you kind of got to let him make those mistakes if he's going to make those mistakes, but you can't just box him in and ask him to, just take check downs constantly. Don't throw anything down the field. Don't attack the middle of the field. Just, if you're going to play him like that, then I think you've already admitted that he's not the guy you want him to be. So, especially when you're 1-4, look, you're going to have to go win the game against the Bills. The Bills aren't going to give it to you like the Dolphins did. So, if you want to win this game, you're going to have to go attack and let him, make mistakes if he makes mistakes. But you can't just play this hyper-conservative brand of football that we've seen a lot, over the years in Nashville on the offensive side of the ball. It's just not a recipe for success in the modern NFL. And if you're going to learn about Levis, you're going to have to see him running an offense that, they ultimately want him to be able to run. So let him try and do it and fail if he does. But the season's about Will Levis's development. We've said that from, the off season. And you're not going to find anything about him if you're boxing him in and asking him to play just basically no frills football. Moving on.
So do you have a quick trigger? If he makes a lot of mistakes, you trying to let him fly, and all of a sudden he makes mistakes, you got a quick trigger on him or no?
I wouldn't pull him for mistakes. I think if the reason I would pull him would be if you get, a few more weeks and maybe you're into the last, third of the season, and it's just obvious that he's not getting better. He's not taking coaching. He's crippling the offense. The only reason I would want to pull Will Levis for Mason Rudolph is all right, I want to get a look at Mason Rudolph. We're giving up on Will Levis because if I'm pulling him out of the game, I'm giving up on him. That means he's not the guy. We're going to look for another quarterback next year. And then I want to take a look and see, hey, was what Mason Rudolph showed down the stretch last year for the Steelers, is that repeatable? Can he be like a Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith kind of late career guy who, maybe struggled early but gets together later on and becomes a viable starter that you could, use next year as your number one while you draft a guy or plan to draft a guy the following year or whatever. That would be the only reason I'd pull Levis, would be if I actually wanted to get a look at Mason Rudolph. But otherwise, I think you keep letting Levis take his lumps in the hopes that maybe something breaks, maybe it clicks for him and the game starts to slow down and you all of a sudden see a big step forward. I don't expect that to happen, but I think you got to keep trying.
All righty. Mike Herndon from PK.com.
You talk about boxing in and letting it rip, and we've kind of talked about that as well. But how much of that is actually just the NFL is not letting it rip right now? Defenses with the too high safety, deep throw rates are the lowest they've been at least since 2015 across the league. The best quarterbacks in the NFL, or arguably some of the best quarterbacks, aren't even throwing them deep at a high rate. And then on top of that, Will Levis is throwing at a top 10 high rate. He's just not very good at it right now. And we heard Brian Callahan talk about it on Monday. We're calling deep shots. Just sometimes the deep shots are not getting thrown. So, I mean, how much of this is really the staff boxing him in? How much of this is the defense? And how much of it is just really Will Levis is boxed in his own head right now?
I mean, I think that's a fair point. I do think, defenses – and this has been trending this way for the last few years and seems to have kind of reached an extreme point this year. Defenses are very much sitting over the top of everyone and daring you to be patient and run the ball and run them out of that too high safety look and make them bring somebody down in the box to stop it. And being willing to bet that you can't continue to run the ball at 5 yards a clip, all the way down the field on them. That eventually you're going to get tackled for a loss and be put into a spot where you have to challenge down the field. Now, that being said, other teams are struggling to get the deep ball going, but they're also not throwing for 90 yards in a game, right? So there is an in-between somewhere. I think that they have to find, between we're only throwing swing passes this game, and you don't want to go back to the just all out deep balls, vertical routes, everything down the field constantly, because that's a recipe for a lot of 3 and outs too. So there's a balance that they have to find for sure, and I do think the defenses are contributing to what looks like a less aggressive passing attack, but there's a balance that has to be found, and I don't know that they've found it yet. So it might be Levis's fault too.
Yeah, well, let me ask you a question. When you say aggressive, so my mind goes to deep shots, and maybe that's not what you're talking about. Maybe you're talking about on a second down play on the first drive, and I think this is even what you said in the group chat, just calling a pass play to the intermediate area or beyond the sticks. Yeah. Is that what you really mean, or do you mean we got to get more deep shots, or do you just really mean we got to call more pass plays in advantageous situations?
Yeah, I don't mean necessarily, that you just have to air it out 40 yards down the field all the time. I do think there's areas where they could be attacking in the intermediate areas and being more aggressive, because their run rates on first and second downs are pretty high, which tells me, again, they're trying to be a run the ball and get into third and manageable offense, which, again, is what we criticize Mike Vrabel for, and it drove us nuts that they were not more aggressive on early downs under Vrabel. And so I think that's kind of where I'm still landing, is you need to be more aggressive on first and second down. And it doesn't mean, 30, 40 yards down the field. It could be, trying to hit some slants over the middle, trying to get some dig routes going to Hopkins or Ridley, and especially Ridley, because if you could get him the ball in space, moving into the middle of the field and let him create after the catch a little bit. I mean, he's such a good athlete that I just think there could be some explosive plays there without having to put 40 air yards under the ball that could be found, and they just need to find opportunities for that. But I mean, hell, throw some comeback routes on first and second down that are 7 or 8 yards downfield that you can get into 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2, and then take a play action deep shot if you want there. Like that. Those are the opportunities that I want.
And I agree. But when you have a quarterback like Will Levis, who had one of those plays you're talking about on the second down to open the drive, primary read is Calvin Ridley, your guy, going into the middle of the field, and he's got tons of separation. And Will Levis, for whatever reason, predetermines his read even before he snaps the ball. Like, I mean, how much – I mean, I just don't know what they can do other than maybe, like, tape his head – in a certain direction. I mean, like, what are they to do at this point if they're calling these plays that you are wanting and he's not executing them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the answer is that they have to stay on him in the film room and say, look, you've got to see these things. These throws have to be made. And I'm sure they're doing that. And it is ultimately up to Levis to then execute on game day. And at some point, again, like I think I'm not there quite yet, just simply because I think 5 games is still a little bit quick to just say, all right, I'm out completely. But if it continues and persists for a few more games and they're just not getting any progress out of Levis, then I do think maybe you take a look at somebody else and just see. Because then, your coach is probably going to feel the pressure to show, hey, my offense isn't terrible. It's just not being run correctly. So at some point there will be a breaking point if this continues. But, I think they just got to keep coaching it for right now. And then if it doesn't start to improve soon, you maybe look at pulling the plug.
We're talking to Mike Herndon at PK.com and Football and Other F Words.
Well, speaking of breaking, I guess Jamal Adams and the Titans have broken up. So what is happening here? Because I'm seeing on social media that he wasn't injured and the Titans put him on IR, I thought, for 4 games. So is he injured or not injured? And is that why he's upset? Because he wasn't injured.
Yeah, and I think they put him on, was it non-football illness or non-football injury?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, what happened here?
Yeah, it certainly feels like, and I know teams have done this before where, if a guy if there's some sort of dispute, they'll stick them on that list just while they kind of try to work it out or figure out what they're going to do with him. But it certainly seems like there was a playing time dispute or how they were using him, that he became unsatisfied with. And, they pulled the plug. And again, I mean, there's been that hip issue that he's been on the injury report for, and I think missed the opener for, and I don't know if that's still an issue or if they're, maybe their training staff has a difference of opinion about how healthy he is than he does, or what the dispute actually, revolves around. But it certainly sounds like he asked to be released, and that's kind of surprising. I mean,
especially with the relationships that they have with the coaching staff. That's why I thought it was really eerie and odd with that just whole wording with "I'm not injured, I'm available to play," and that was weird. But I guess lastly, what do you think is going to happen against the Bills? Your bold prediction.
Unfortunately, I think you're going to see, what Josh Allen can do against a good Titans defense. But I just think he's one of the better playmakers in the game, and I think they're going to make relatively easy work out of the Titans this weekend. I think I predicted earlier this week on a show like 30-10, and I think that's kind of still where I'm sitting. I don't know that this is going to be particularly close. I think the Bills are just a far more advanced outfit than the Titans are at this stage. And look, I mean, I think the defense would be the hope that, maybe you drag them into a rock fight and turn it into a 13-10 kind of game where maybe they make a mistake late, because Josh Allen is still, capable of having the ugly games where he turns it over 2 or 3 times.
0 interceptions on the season, so I don't know about that. This
year, but last year he had 17. So, I mean, I don't know if he's completely turned the page there, but we'll see. I think that's the only way they win this game, though. You got to drag him into a rock fight and hope Josh Allen has a bad game, which I don't know that I'm ready to predict at this point. So I think, unfortunately, this is probably going to be an ugly one for the Titans and drop them down to 1-5 here.
Real quick, because we're going to go up against a break. Since you were right about Jamal Adams, do you want to make the case that Jeffrey Simmons should unblock you on Twitter since you were right about Jamal Adams?
Oh.
I think he should. I mean, listen, I didn't like the signing, and I know it was cheap, and I was like, but I just don't understand why you're bringing a guy in who doesn't fit the modern NFL, has been injured. I think he missed like 32 of his last 52 games or something like that. So, Big Jeff, come on, man. I was right. It's okay to admit that. Unblock me. I do enjoy seeing your Twitter sometimes. I need to see those LOL tweets. But yeah, come on, unblock me. I was correct, and I stand justified on Jamal Adams was a bad signing island.
There you go. Mike Herndon of PK.com and football, some frequent guest of football and other F words as well. You can follow him on Twitter at Mike Herndon NFL. Thanks for joining us, Mike. When we come back, we'll get to your phone, 615-737-1045, and we'll talk more about Tennessee Titans and Will Levis. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, Tennessee, fall is here and is in full swing. And Cool Way's here to make sure your home is ready for all the fun and the fall season. And we've got some sizzling deals that will keep you comfortable and worry-free all season long. So ensure your family stays hydrated and healthy with free water quality testing. Because nothing beats a refreshing drink of pure water on a nice fall day. And Cool Ray also offers a $149 main sewer line camera inspection. And right now, they also offer 15% off whole home dehumidifiers, as well as $500 off whole home generators. So let Cool Ray take your home so you can focus on making family memories. So call us today at 615-709-8699. That's 709-8699, and take advantage of these scorching hot deals. So Cool Ray, your trusted partner for a cool and comfortable Tennessee fall. And all you have to do is visit coolray.com. Call 709-8699. Cool Ray, keeping Tennessee cool, plumbing right, and always lights bright.
Blaine and Zach here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045 if you want to get in on the phone conversation. And then, of course, we have the Zone TV chat over on, or the Zone TV F&M Bank Chat on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. And we're going to go straight to the phones to JR who in Franklin who wants to talk about Will Levis. JR, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Yeah, hey, Blaine and Zach. It's JR from the chat, long-time listener, first-time caller. I just want to talk about Levis for a minute. It's a lot easier to do this than through the chat. I can recognize that Levis is not having a good season. He's having a lot of difficulty with his reads and his accuracy. I do think that Will has the physical capability. I think he has elite tools. I think he obviously needs development. I'm not sure if Brian Callahan has gone about it correctly. My thing is this, Zach, is that I think that Levis has to start the remainder of the season, whether you're pro-Levis or anti-Levis. And the reason is that I don't think Mason Rudolph gives us a chance to do anything as such as go to the playoffs. I don't think that Mason would get us a good draft pick. So I think they either have to develop Levis, or if he busts, then you get a good spot in the draft to maybe do something with that pick. I'm not high on the 2025 draft class for quarterbacks either. So I kind of feel like we're in a little bit of a crunch in that scenario. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that, if you agree, disagree.
No, thanks, JR. I fully, here's the issue, right? So I said last night on Football and Other F Words, me and Stoney, the guy that I had on, we both agree. Starting Will Levis is great for the health of your franchise as far as the future, because either he's going to turn into the guy or he's going to prove that he's not the guy and get you a draft pick. I don't think that with most things like Will Levis, there is no in between. I just think that's what it's going to be. Mason Rudolph can win you games, and maybe that's not great. But that's in a vacuum, right, Blaine? Because there are 52 other players that you have to think about. There are coaches and staff and people who have jobs that are probably tied to the success of this team and still being here. So that is the thing. Now, if everybody's under the same understanding and that basically we're living and dying by Will Levis no matter what, then that's a different scenario. But you start seeing these fractures, comments from Calvin Ridley, and then you see Will Levis go up there and say, well, we had a bad practice today, unprompted again, because he just, can't quit, divulging information. And then that leads to Peter Skoronski being asked in the locker room about why was the practice bad? That just, you leave yourself open to criticism. But I understand what Jay is saying. It's just that it's hard for me to do yes, you have to start Levis without thinking, and then I drift over to think about the other 52 players on the team, the staff members, the front office members, the people whose jobs are tied to the success of this team. It's just, man, that's tough. That's a tough decision and a tough situation that they are in.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Also, you got to bring in the component of the fans and selling tickets and guys, girls showing up for the actual game. There's a marketing side to this, and then having a good product on the field for people to come watch, whether you win or lose. If you're in every game, I think people give you the pass and really want to hope that things can turn around. So it's a tough decision to be in, because ultimately, as competitors, the ownership on down, from coaches to players, they all want to win. So who gives you the best opportunity to win? Well, if we put in Mason Rudolph, maybe he gives you a better shot of winning. Maybe you win just 2 more games than if Levis played. And then all of a sudden now you're picking at 8 instead of 4 or 3, which you could have got, a better player. So that's always a tough decision. You can't throw games. What you do is you put in backups to actually play games in the National Football League. And
the other issue is like you put in Mason Rudolph and you win. Well, that doesn't preclude you from trading up to draft a quarterback, right? If you finally find yourself in like the 19th or 20th, position in the draft, doesn't preclude you. But there's only really one guy worth trading up for right now. this isn't a class of Trubisky, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson. Right now it's a class of one, and that's Shadur Sanders. Now, then you're tying yourself and trading up, and you don't have a lot of draft capital anyway, right? You don't have a lot of draft capital in 2024, and then you're going to have to sacrifice some 2025 draft picks as well. And are you really comfortable doing that? And if they are comfortable doing that, then I'm all in. If you have conviction that, let's say, Cam Ward is the guy, if you have conviction that, I keep wanting to say Stetson Bennett because he reminds me so much of him, Carson Beck is the guy, then sure, go up and get your guy. I'm always going to say, if you got conviction, go up and get your guy in the first round. Do whatever you got to do. But the problem is the Tennessee Titans don't have a lot of draft capital to do that because they've traded other picks. They've traded for other players. Like it's a lot harder. It's a lot easier said than done to go back to, well, the Chiefs were 12-4, and this is what some Duck Fallen has said. The Chiefs were 12-4, and they went up and got Mahomes. Well, they didn't really need Mahomes, but they were in an advantageous situation to do it and have him sit. He wasn't really a pro-ready year one guy. The problem is the Titans are probably going to have to look for a pro-ready year one guy. And the other situation is that, like, he says trade up for Quinn Ewers. The guy who can't stay healthy? That's the guy you want to go and get? Like, at some point, we have to call a spade a spade. This quarterback class is not very good. Can't have it both ways. Well, the Tennessee Titans can win and they can trade up, but this quarterback class isn't that good. Well, then this is not the time to be winning games. Get the guy that's more than likely the guy, is how I feel.
Real quick, I know we got to go up against the break. One of Mason Rudolph is actually the answer.
Hey, maybe he is the Sam Darnold, the Geno Smith. We brought it up a few times. It's a conspiracy theory that maybe is worth exploring. You never know. You never know. When we come back, we'll talk more about the Tennessee Titans, their quarterback situation, and what Nick Holtz had to say. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, folks, I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they're the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physicians for NFL, college, high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. And they have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations and walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy, and nutrition. Personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. So please go check out their services at TOA.com. Yes, that's right, TOA.com.
What's up? Will Bowling here, 104.5 The Zone, coming to you on Zone TV. Hey, 104.5 The Zone has got a big sale going on, 1045thezone.com/epic. Whether it's radio, digital, we have got ad solutions that work for you. Harness the power of The Zone and Zone TV by getting involved. That's 1045thezone.com/epic. We got big deals going on right for you. Hey, it's
Hour number 2 on Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 if you want to talk Tennessee Titans, their quarterback situation, or whatever floats your boat. And then, of course, there's the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. And we were talking about the quarterback situation and all this kind of stuff, and drafting, and maybe it's a little too early to be talking draft and all that kind of stuff. It's just that the Titans find themselves at this weird situation where, like, my fear is you start Mason Rudolph, and Mason Rudolph is clearly not Ryan Tannehill, but Ryan Tannehill was able to execute on time without fear or hesitation Art Smith's offense. It's the same offense that Marcus ran. It's the same playbook Marcus had. And then when he was inserted in, everything started flowing. 2020 also confirmed everything that you saw in 2019. And my fear is that for whatever reason, because Ryan Tannehill was left for dead by many in the NFL, but for whatever reason, what if Mason Rudolph turns into Ryan Tannehill, and then you kid yourself, and maybe he's not Sam Darnold, maybe he's not Baker Mayfield, and he's Ryan Tannehill, and you're going to get a year and a half out of him. And then you're back in the same situation where you're forcing quarterback picks because you don't have a quarterback in the future.
But you bought yourself some time.
Bought yourself for
next
time
draft.
But maybe.
But the next draft.
But you know what if Nico doesn't come out? What if Arch Manning doesn't come out? Like, and then you're kind of looking at the rest of this quarterback class, and you're thinking, well, maybe this guy will pop up and show up, or are you going to be looking at the Kenny Pickett draft class again, like you did when you drafted Malik Willis in the third round? Like, it's
you're making it feel
so
like we
cyclical.
won't
That's
win
the problem.
at all. We losing at every level here.
The problem is that it's very cyclical. Like, and again, the issue is that you have 52 other players who have pride and take pride in their job and don't want to lose. You have staff members, you have coaches, you have all these people that are depending on wins. It doesn't have to be wins because of Will Levis or Mason Rudolph, but they're dependent on wins. But maybe that's not the healthiest thing for you. And there's no guarantee you get the first overall pick, right? The Cleveland Browns are out there. The Carolina Panthers are out there. Like, there are teams that are just as bad or arguably maybe in worse situations that also need quarterbacks that are still out there losing games.
Cam Ward.
So, yeah, I mean, then to me, his tape tells me that he is a more explosive Maybe a more fearless Will Levis, but he still has the boneheaded plays.
Yeah, he does. Oh, no doubt about it.
But maybe he's more Josh Allen than what Will ever, because everybody comped Will Levis to Josh Allen. And really, I was looking at some pro comps. I think PFF had it best. They called him Jake Locker. Yeah, but everybody thought that he was going to be Josh Allen. Maybe Cam Ward, though, is actually Josh Allen. He makes the boneheaded plays, but can reward you with making unbelievable plays. Mm-hmm. But this particular system doesn't really want that. So you need to be looking at quarterbacks that have anticipation and timing on their resume with high marks. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to be the guy that can launch it 50 yards down the field. The NFL defenses are daring that guy to come into the NFL right now.
You saying that's Shedeur Sanders?
Yeah, I think Shedeur Sanders is that guy. I think there could be some Garrett Nussmeier. Could be that guy. But, I mean, again, let's see what he does the rest of the year. But, man, I like Quinn Ewers, and I think he is the antithesis of Will Levis because he has great pocket movement, and he has progressed every year. But my issue is the injuries. Like if he could have stayed healthy this year, I think there'd be a lot of Quinn Ewers conversation about him being the quarterback
he looked
one.
Rusty, and I thought that was a big move. They're not starting him against that level of opponent.
I also thought that was an interesting move. Like why in a rivalry game do you guys not feel that Arch is ready, or do you guys feel that Quinn Ewers earned the right over the years to just come back and take that job back?
Since he was healthy and because he was rusty that whole first half. Luckily, their defense just dominated Oklahoma's offense. I mean, and then he finally got into a flow and picked back up. I won't say where he left off, but he was better because that first half.
We'll see now. They're going to get their biggest test of the season against Georgia's defense. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see that. We're going to see how he plays against Georgia. It's just such a fluid year for quarterbacks right now. Like if he doesn't stay healthy, if he gets injured again, I mean, my gosh, how can you roll with him as your number one quarterback at all? Like it's just. There's just so much to this quarterback class that's very reminiscent of the year. It's kind of like a mix between the Trevor Lawrence year and the Kenny Pickett year. I feel like there is like it's a weird situation, right? Like there could be a bunch of quarterbacks that go first round, like in the year of Trevor Lawrence, where you had Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones.
And we see
but they're all probably the talent of Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, and all that. And that's kind of where I'm at on this class. It's a tough class to need a quarterback. So then it comes back to our question. Do you trust Brian Callahan, Rand Carthon, and Chad Brinker to figure out who in this class is their guy? Who do you trust that they'll find someone here with conviction that this guy is going to be what you need to find the franchise quarterback? And do you believe that they can develop them? Because there's been a lot of conversations about the Tennessee Titans have never developed a quarterback.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Steve McNair, obviously, I think they did. I mean, there's a mixture there of a lot of it's Steve, a lot of it's the system, a lot of it is the coaching. I would say they developed Marcus, and the only reason Marcus didn't pan out was because he started getting injured. And that injuries led to him being gun shy. And once you're in your head, as you're seeing with Will Levis, it's really hard to get him out. But he was developing. The problem is that more often than not, they're not developing quarterbacks. Now, this is a different system. This is a different coaching staff, different GM. But do you trust Rand Carthon, Brian Callahan, and Chad Brinker to make that decision? I do, but I know that there are going to be people that probably don't.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say because they don't have the resume that says that they can do that. So you have to, go on belief here and see what they've done. And then so far right now, in their decision with Will Levis, unfortunately, it's not a passing grade in my eyes. So, but at least they probably, with the head coach not really been attached to actually drafting him. And I don't know where Rand was in this process. He was in the room, though. We all know he was a GM. I don't know who was making the decisions at that point in time, whether it was Vrabel or Amy. But I think there's a way to navigate to another quarterback, and then that's the only shot you got. So they're going to get their turn to get their guy and not try to work with the guy. And I get it. I would have tried to work with him as well, because you see the talent level from afar and you say, okay, I can work with that. Let me just get my hands on him and I can, turn him into at least an average starting quarterback at worst case scenario. Well, right now we're not getting that. And that's going to be something that you're going to deal with first and foremost. And we're already talking about drafting quarterback. I don't even know if any of those we mentioned are better than Will Levis.
I think most of them are, but that's just my personal point of view. But we'll see. We'll see. We got a giveaway before the break. So here we go. Smashville, the Nashville Predators 2024-2025 season is here. And 104.5 The Zone has your chance to win tickets to your Preds in action this weekend against the Detroit Red Wings. Be caller number 5 now to win 2 tickets to see the Preds host the Red Wings this Saturday at Bridgestone Arena at 1 p.m. 615-737-1045. It's an exciting offseason with major new player signings in Steven Stamkos and Brady Shea. Don't miss out on this exciting season in Smashville. Grab tickets at NashvillePredators.com. When we come back, we'll hear from Nick Holtz and talk more about what he had to say today. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. Is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey guys, this is Blaine for Edge Peptide Therapy. And listen, I've been hearing about peptides and peptide therapy now for a few months, and I was curious. So I finally went to Edge Peptide Therapy to find out more. They did a full blood panel that showed where my body had some small deficiencies. And then I came up with a tailor-made plan to address those areas with peptides. Since I started my peptide therapy, I've noticed I'm full of energy here to compete with, Zach on air, man. And my focus is off the charts. And recovery peptides are great for healing post-injury or surgery. You recover quicker from your workouts. Have a little joint pain and arthritis from the elbow and a lot of inflammation from old and new sports injuries. And recovery peptides help with all of this. So if you're looking for an alternative to surgery, consider talking to Edge first. And this month, Edge is offering $150 off your first peptide package for new clients. So why not get started now? Go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can just give them a call at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Lyons here of 104.5 The Zone, and as the resident sports analytics nerd, I know data, and the numbers tell me that the dual power of radio and digital on 104.5 has always delivered for local advertisers. Now's your chance to book your 2025 marketing campaign early with special savings and incentives. Reach out today to your local ad representative or go to 1045thezone.com/epic. Blaine and Zach rolling on this Thursday afternoon, talk about the Tennessee Titans, and we're going to go back to Nick Holtz here, but 615-737-1045 if you want to join the conversation. And, of course, we're always powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, just in case I couldn't remember if I actually mentioned them or not on that. So, hey, we've been talking about execution, we've been talking about Will Levis, and for the week, ever since Sunday, ever since Titans Talk Back, play calling has gotten bashed for those two screenplays right on the first drive, on the opening drive. And what we thought was a perceived screenplay ended up actually not being a screenplay. And this is more about the execution of your quarterback following, a play call. And this is a big issue. And so we're going to hear from Nick Holtz, who talked about Calvin Ridley and the execution of that second down play on the very first drive.
Well, like the second play of the game, he should get the ball, right? He had a slant route on the backside. Second play of the game, the ball should go to him. We get fooled by the coverage and the look. We end up throwing the bubble to the right. And he sees that. And we know Calvin's frustrated and everybody's frustrated. Coaches are frustrated. Will's got frustrated. You go and throw the ball for 90 yards, everybody's going to be frustrated. So it was good for us to sit down, kind of everybody see how it all looked, how it all fits together, and everybody left feeling pretty good about it, or better about it.
Last year,
So they were talking about, obviously he's referencing the meeting where the players, the position coaches, everybody on offense went through and broke down every pass play. And that play ended up getting -2 yards because it went snap automatically over to his right to Tony Pollard, whereas if he would have gone to his primary read, the first read, over to the left, the top side, or the back side, Calvin Ridley had not only separation between him and his closest defender, the one-on-one matchup, he had daylight in the middle of the field pretty much, and it's really hard to catch a guy of his speed. Not saying that anybody could, but that's at least, instead of a -2 yard, instead of a 10-yard play, you had to settle for -2, and that's almost a 12-yard swing, which, again, stunts your opening game script. And on this second play, on the third down play, Blaine, you can go find this clip. It's on the internet, and we talked about it yesterday. I talked about it in Football and Other F Words, but on that third down play that was also a screen up to the backside over to Chig, Traylon Burks totally misses his block. I mean, doesn't even attempt to block the guy. He actually goes to do a double and help in a double team. And that comes down to player execution. And that's been kind of was the message today was like, and I think that's why you saw an all offensive players meeting to drill down execution issues on offense.
Well, I don't know in particular who Burks was supposed to block on that play, but at some point, common sense comes into play. Coach told me to block that guy. That guy's my teammate's blocking him. Go to the next guy. Have some football common sense. So I don't know who was supposed to block who, but that's what I'm thinking there. Here's what really stood out to me when he said all those things. Really was wide open on a slant. That dude would have had to clip him up by the ankle. It would have been tough. He said Levis was fooled.
Yep.
He might not say
said
Levis.
We fooled.
He said
we were fooled by the coverage.
Right. That means Levis was fooled. No, that cannot happen.
No.
There was one read over there. He was backside by himself. How do you get confused?
And we look at the play. You can go to my Twitter at the Zach Lyons on Twitter.
I can't even make an excuse for him.
We looked at it and we're like, what did he see pre-snap? What's he reading? Because everybody Ridley's one-on-one. Everybody's either right up at the line or over to the right, and nobody backs off, right? Like nobody goes and fills up a passing lane or anything, or at least a passing lane over to Ridley. It should have been snap boom over to Ridley instead of snap boom over to Pollard. Like, again, we talk about aggressive play calls and all this stuff, but it goes back to what Brian Callahan said. We're calling up deep shots, and this is not obviously a deep shot, but they're calling a play. The plays, you
want a one-on-one matchup, and then you called it, and you called Ridley's number.
If he can't execute that, system be damned.
Yeah.
Scheme be damned. If he cannot execute that, it don't matter where you're going in the NFL if you can't execute that.
He would have got a 80-yard touchdown or whatever, however far it was. Because Ridley, man, he had full field, man. He beat the guy inside for the coach. I mean, actually, the coach, I didn't know any of their corners or anybody besides Moore. But that's it, man. So that was a little bit telling there, man. Anybody on 22, and Zach's got to post that one. If you see
it's up there,
you're gonna be, oh my gosh, what is going on? I won't even say. Oh man, that's a little disheartening. Now, rest assured, I'm sure every player in there had that same mess up in their level of whatever position they play. Mm-hmm. That's why they did that, so we can make sure we stay together, and it's everybody making these horrific mistakes. And, you could say it's them doing that, but that's on you. Mm-hmm. That's on you. That is not nothing that they did. It was all on you. And that makes it really, being a former player, really concerning, especially from your quarterback, because your quarterback's supposed to be the smartest guy on the field.
Yeah.
That's about as clean as it could get on how you make your decision. It wasn't even hard at all.
And for a guy in Will Levis who everybody touted, well, he came from a pro-style scheme. I mean, both Liam Cohen and Rich Scangarello's schemes are pro-style. They maybe had different levels of success, but they were both pro-style schemes. He doesn't seem like he can really do the pro-style offense that is required right here, which is very similar to what he had with Liam Cohen in Kentucky.
Which is weird.
It's just so, but again, I go back to the tape coming out of college. The reason why everybody touts that 2021 tape is because, this is the beginning of something good. This guy's got arm talent. He was able to do a little bit in the pro-style offense. You saw him be able to make certain throws. Now he's going to progress. Mm-hmm. And he didn't progress. And what are we saying about 2023?
They switched coordinators, but it was somewhat similar.
Somewhat similar, but you still need to progress. Mm-hmm. And what are we saying about 2023? Oh, man, look at those throws. Mm-hmm. Look at those games. Now he just needs to progress. And he has not progressed. And at a certain time, we have to understand two things, that progress matters in college, and being a good Kentucky quarterback doesn't make you a good good college prospect. Like, just because you're the best of a bad situation or historically not a traditional quarterback, producing college, this isn't quarterback you were talking about. Just because you're a good quarterback in Kentucky doesn't mean you're a good college prospect, and there's a reason why he fell to the second round. Let's call it spade a spade.
Yeah, well, I have a good friend who's an alma mater of Penn State.
Yeah.
And he said they wouldn't even hardly let Levis throw the ball because they didn't trust him. They let him run the ball. He would come in and run the ball when he was at Penn State.
They trusted Sean Clifford over Will Levis. I'm sure they didn't boo-hoo at all when Will Levis decided to transfer.
No. And to his credit, though, he won over his teammates and had a great spring and was the captain going into the season.
Yeah.
That year.
It's something. It's something like, it's really, there just seems to be, and listen, we all know that Traylon Burks is not a number one wide receiver. Yeah. We all know that Traylon Burks isn't a number two wide receiver. Mm-hmm. We all know that he's not a number three wide receiver. I think I can get down to maybe wide receiver 5, and you may be able to convince me that he's a wide receiver 5 in the NFL. But at the end of the day, you got to execute simple things. At the end of the day, Will Levis has to execute simple things. At the end of the day, that is the issue that I have, and I just don't know if it's ever going to happen. Like for Will Levis, I know it's definitely not going to happen. Likely for Traylon Burks, but I just don't think it's going to happen for Will Levis. But I want to keep talking about the players because
Chig, Hopkins, Spears, Ridley.
Well, you
Pollard.
got a lot of guys that they want to keep Boyd, Ridley, and D Hop on the field as much as possible, and we need to get some NWI. So let's talk about the play clock woes. By the way, for this Tennessee Titans offense, it's something that everybody has kind of picked up on. Fans, media, we've all seen it. We've all kind of talked about what is the issue. Well, here we go. Nick Holtz is going to be as blunt as possible and tell you the issue right here this is Nick Holtz on the Tennessee Titans and their play clock woes from earlier today.
We're slow. We substitute a lot. So now we're slow with the subs. So that just everything keeps getting all those little things compound. You're 2 or 3 seconds late coming back to the huddle. Then we're starting to sub personnel. Then we're getting the right guys in. So there's 2 or 3 seconds there. Then we don't really break the huddle with as much urgency as we would like. You see teams, especially in the start of training camp and things like that, really emphasizing that. So we got back to emphasizing that this week. We're subbing from the sideline in practice just to simulate that. So all those 2 seconds here, 3 seconds here, 2 seconds here. If we had 7 more seconds for everybody, I think we'd feel a lot better. So
it kind of cuts off at the very beginning. It doesn't pick up at the right time. But when he's talking about slow at the very beginning of the clip, he is talking about once the play is over, they are slow to get back to the huddle. They are slow to get out of the huddle once the play call comes in. They are slow with substitutions. And I think Ricky W., and this goes back to something I said about the receivers after they are getting an off-target ball. Ricky W. in the F&M Bank chat says it's not just Levis, and this is in this situation it isn't just Levis, but there is no fire or determination by anyone on the offense except Pollard, Latham, and Watson. Everyone else kind of looks like a mummy. This is kind of that right here. Like I don't know is that a command of the huddle situation? Like, should Will Levis be out there directing traffic and getting people back on the ball? I mean, and this is a lofty example for him to live up to. But I know that Peyton Manning and Tom Brady would not put up with that over and over and over. So at some point, who is it just the individual players? So I'm asking from the players' perspective because I don't know. Is it the individual players or is it the fact that there's not a unifying, strong voice out there getting everybody kind of like buttoned up on the field?
I think this is kind of twofold because ultimately the players are the one actually playing. Now, can Levis, who's the leader, just like on defense, is the middle linebacker, get him to hurry up and get in the huddle, say, hey, come on. But at the same time, these are things that you're supposed to be practicing on in practice. And to me, that should have been being honed in on by the coaches at practice. And then what you do at practice on things like that, that's like clock management, that then should translate into the game. Now, if they are not doing it, now it's up to Levis and the other leaders, Cushenberry, the guys there, to kind of like, hey, let's hurry up, let's get in this huddle right here. So I think it's both. At the same time, your team, the players, actually have to take ownership on what they're doing. Ultimately, it comes down because guess why? They're the ones on the freaking field. They're the ones playing. So you live and die with what you do out there. So,
Do you think there's a self-accountability issue right now with this offense with maybe not all players, but certain players? And really, this could go to a little bit of self-accountability between Brian Callahan as well. A guy who's supposed to be looking at the data doesn't seem to be looking at the data as much as we thought he may. Because if he did, he would see that, hey, completion percentage for Will Levis goes up by 9% if they do play action plays. He goes up 1.8 yards per attempt if they do play action plays, and he's not really doing that stuff a lot.
Well, and that's the analytic department.
Yeah,
and
right.
everybody else. I don't know. On that.
Do you think there's a little bit of a self-account? And I don't mean that in like I'm trying to call anybody out. I just wonder when you're watching and you're hearing press conferences and you're hearing stuff being said. Do you think maybe there's a little bit more me than we in right now? Maybe it wasn't like that at the beginning, but maybe it's trending towards that. Like, because you've kind of worried that that's when
I'm
it
worried
happens.
that can get to there, but I don't think they're there yet. So it's hard to say something like that without being in the locker room. I think everybody there is motivated to win and do their job. So, maybe there's some woe is me going on and, individually, just because, things aren't going their way as individuals and not the season that they want to be having at this point in time, let alone the overall record. So it's just that was a tough one to say. It's really hard to say that I'm going to go back to it's managing clock management. Think about this. Would we be having this issue if Mike Vrabel was the coach?
Probably someone would have got punched in the face. I think that's what someone said here. But I do feel like maybe that's where I kind of wanted to bring in the coach as well.
That's why I said the coaches ultimately for clock management and things like that, they got to bring that sense of urgency at practice because, sometimes players are unaware of the situation. As he said, Holtz there said, they were just standing in the back of the huddle and then they just go in, because they're trying to be closer, trying to manage guys' legs and all those things. But you got to tell them the situation. So, hey, there's a sense of urgency here when we get in here. So when we get in the game, now to me, this is something that probably wasn't just happening in this game. This probably just gradually grew to this and ultimately became, an issue. So it wasn't like it was game in and game out. So that's why I don't think it's something you have to address, but it's not something that overall right now that's really standing out with all the other things going on. So, I think that's an easy fix to me after one game. And that can happen periodically, sometimes throughout a season, just reminding guys.
We were talking with Mike about aggressive throws, and obviously deep throws are kind of misconstrued as that, but being more aggressive on certain downs and everything by calling plays and everything. So I want to get to this clip from Nick Holtz earlier today where he actually was asked about the aggressive throws to play calling and those kinds of situations. He was specifically asked, Will Levis weighing deep opportunities versus going with first, second read and vice versa. This comes from Teron Davenport, who explains the clip better than I probably could. So this is Nick Holtz talking about the Colts game and what the Colts were giving him versus being aggressive.
Week, and it's all coverage based. Gus Bradley and the Colts, they play a safety at 20 yards in the middle of the field and try to not let you take any deep shots. They're gonna make you take long drives. That's their whole game plan, right? So our two scoring drives were 14 plays and 13 plays, and then we had the short, obviously, touchdown on the interception return. Yeah. But our two long scoring drives, because that's how Gus Bradley's defense makes you play: run the football, take completions. So, Will does understand that, but with the coverages and there's too high and they don't let you take deep shots sometimes. So you got to manage the check down. Now, when they are there, your eyes need to be in the right spot and you got to take them on time, right? You can't be late. The one interception, he took an extra hitch, kind of held the safety, was able to hold it there, and then he ends up throwing a pick. So, they played one hole and that was a chance to take a shot, and we missed it because we were late.
Exactly what we've talked about on the show. And we talk about that little hitch that he does, that little shoulder move where he sees it, he just doesn't take it, then he waits too long and it's either gone or it's an interception or it's an incompletion or it's a tougher throw. The stuff that Nick Holtz is saying is the stuff that me and you have seen on tape and have discussed on this show. First off, it makes me feel really good that we're at least seeing what the coaches are seeing, but it also makes me feel really terrified that this is Will Levis.
Well, because that interception, I said that was the right place to go. He was late, as you mentioned. I said, I don't understand. It's 1, 2, 3, back foot down. Let it fly. Yep. There's no hitching. There's no nothing. That guy's not even supposed to get there in a real throw in a real game. That a polished quarterback, that guy's supposed to probably be 2 yards away at best. That guy's not Ed Reed.
Yep.
So he didn't bait you into that throw. He opened his hips and ran directly that way because Levis was looking that way the entire time. Now, if he want to be polished, he could look that way the entire time. It was cover 3. The other guy on the other side was doing the same thing. He could have threw it over there. He wasn't open like Ridley. Ridley had a couple steps. Yep. He went to the right guy. He just underthrew him, and it wasn't on time. So those two things, it means pick. That should have never happened on that play.
No. And that's I guess the issue that I have with all this is like that play makes Ridley look bad, right? Because then everybody's going to complain about the contract. Well, there's also like 4 or 5 throws that he couldn't even get to because they were getting knocked down.
There was a couple that he had his hands on.
And then there are a couple that he does have his hand. I mean, the one where he gets the ball to him and he should have held on to it, even if he gets 2 guys to knock him out. To knock out the ball. Mm-hmm. And the one that's an off-target throw, but still, you still got to make those catches. That's why you're wide receiver 1. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, a lot of this is on Will Levis. You know, it was put out today, some data that was put out earlier today about the reads that are or the on-target and off-target throws that are going to Will Levis. And what's interesting is that from Will Levis to Calvin Ridley, and what is interesting real quick is that Calvin Ridley has been targeted 27 times this season and only 9 catches for 141 and 1 touchdown. We all know the stats. Not great. Of Ridley's 27 targets, only 11 of them are considered catchable throws. That's 40.7% of Levis's throws to Ridley were deemed catchable. That's not good. And that's Levis being inaccurate or being late or a combination of both.
Or Ridley not being in the right spot.
Maybe it could be
Ridley's a small percentage of that, but that has to be on the table.
Could be that too. But it's just it's a tough situation to be in for the Tennessee Titans. We'll talk more about the Tennessee Titans after the break, but I'm really ready to talk about Buffalo because I have a beef with the city of Buffalo. I think it's one. I'll tell you more about it after the break. Tell you more about it after the break.
Mafia.
I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Bills Mafia.
Final segment here on Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045 if you guys want to get in on the conversation. Tomorrow we'll be previewing more in depth on the University of Tennessee versus Alabama matchup and Buffalo Bills versus Tennessee Titans as well. We'll get into the actual matchups. We've delved and been in the past, so to speak, on both these teams, or all four of these teams. So we're going to be going into the future for those. I'll also be actually on the Buck Rising show tomorrow at 12:20 p.m. and debating with Lucas and about this Alabama University of Tennessee game, a little spicy stuff. Maybe there will be a bet involved at some point, so we'll have to be. I'll be thinking about that situation. But
Roll Tide, huh? You gotta let everybody know. You got different listeners that you're a big Bama fan. You're a big Bama fan.
They'll know tomorrow if they tune in on Zone TV for sure.
You're going down, man.
Yeah. So Tennessee Titans are going to Buffalo, and Blaine, I've had the privilege of being able to go to a bunch of NFL cities. So I've been to probably over about roughly 20 of them. Oh, cool. So I've been to Buffalo. I went to Buffalo as Chris Johnson was still playing, probably 2016, 2015 for the Tennessee Titans.
Did they win?
They did win. It was they won. First off, terrible stadium.
It's an older stadium.
It's an old stadium. It's brutal. We were in the lower bowl. It was terrible.
It cold?
No, actually. So we packed for. It was in November. We packed for all this cold weather gear. Our suitcase. We never actually check luggage, but this time, we're packing all these coats. We're packing all this stuff. So we checked luggage.
Full ski suit ready.
Yeah, pretty much. And then it ended up being like 60 something degrees and everything. And it was great weather, great football weather. Oh. There was a vodka bottle snuck in. And at that point, Tennessee Titans were winning, so we're drinking out.
Oh, the Bills fan,
yeah. The Bills fans wanted some, so we gave them to them. Drown their sorrows away, let them take us a couple swigs. And then one of the Bills fans, dropped it, and everybody yelled at her for dropping it, and it's shattering everywhere. This was also a game where apparently two teachers were caught having intercourse in a bathroom stall.
Oh, I remember that.
Which in Buffalo, by the way, this is a trough urinal situation as well, and it is a disgusting bathroom, and it was in the men's bathroom, which makes it even like 1,000 times worse.
Oh my!
So this was our experience at the game. Before the game, so we go a couple of days before. We like to explore, party around, go where the locals like to go, mix it up.
Yeah.
Well, there would have to be locals there. There was nobody in this crap city. I'm not even joking, Blake. This is not a joke. This is a serious.
There's not a lot to do there.
This is a serious thing. We literally saw a tumbleweed go across downtown as we were the only three people there.
Oh, my.
And their buffalo wings are no different than anywhere else. There's nothing special about them. We went to the original Buffalo Wings place and all this stuff. Terrible city. It is by far the worst professional sports city if you want to go do something. Unless you want to go to Canada, you have to get out of the country to find something to do when you go to Buffalo.
I was just about to tell you, most players would tell you on their off time, they get a limo and go to Canada. That's how far they go. And I think that's like 45 to an hour away.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
It's ridiculous. It's a terrible city. No wonder Marshawn Lynch hated it. None of the players like it. I'm sure there are players I'm sure Josh Allen at this point is so ingrained in the community. Right. He probably likes it, but I bet he is sometimes. I bet there was a second home situation somewhere. He's probably got a second home somewhere.
Yeah. I guarantee you that, especially since he went to Wyoming, so I'm assuming he's a West Coast guy, but I could be wrong on that. You didn't get to fraternize with the Bills Mafia and break tables and stuff like that?
We went through there. We had a slow start that morning for previous night reasons.
Oh, okay.
The guy driving us over there, he drove us around that whole weekend, and he ended up giving Dad as a thanks, he ended up giving my dad a sweatshirt. Oh. Except for it had pizza stains all over it. It's a stained pizza stain. It was a nice gesture, and everything, but it's just funny. Did
he take it off his back?
No, he didn't take it off his back. He just, I guess, pulled it out of his laundry or something. I don't know. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
but I mean, like, it's the worst. It's the worst city.
Yeah, there's.
I can understand why they want to throw themselves through tables.
Oh, well, hey, they love their team, and their fans are kind of like college fans to me because they have nothing to do, and everything is about their team. And they are kind of fanatical. I mean, they're burning stuff in the parking lots to bends to jumping off tables, just doing wild, crazy stuff like college type atmosphere type stuff. And their fans are loud, and they'll throw snowballs at you. They'll do whatever they have to do to try to win a game. And they love their team because they feel like nobody respects them. Basically, just like what you just said.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, the city, I mean, it's just, I don't have any issue with
it's
the
a little
people.
Depressing, though,
it's way depressing.
Over there full time.
My God, I wanted to get out. It was all gray, too.
Right,
like, it was
overcast all the time.
Seattle is gray, right? Like, I mean, I love Seattle because it's overcast. It gets a little wet. But it's a beautiful city. You have so much to do. You have so much to see, so much to eat. Over here, it's just like all the bars closed early, too. Like, it was just.
Yeah, people are saying on the chat, man, you're a bathroom bandit.
Yeah, I am not. I am not the bathroom bandit for sure.
You got something to say, Reed? Oh, okay. I thought you had something to say. Yeah,
I will say this: Sammy is back behind the glass.
Yeah.
Sammy Kincaid. She also does not like Buffalo. She said I was right on when I was talking to her about this before the show started. Oh. But other than that, this has been Blaine and Zach. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We've thoroughly enjoyed everybody in the chat, even the people who think they're funny and they're really not. Oh, looking at you, Ricky and T.N. Berg in there. They just repeat the same jokes over and over. I'm always lurking. I'm always looking. I'm always reading.
I can't read.
Yeah. You can't read? But this has been Blaine and Zach. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. 3HL is up next. But in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.